Look at that. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good to see you.
Good.
Likewise.
Can you believe
he didn't know what the deadlift was? I was terribly disappointed by that.
Acted it out. So
I see
I see you got the 8-man strong on.
I do.
Those are the
powerlifting guys,
Yep.
right?
They're
They're big time MMA guys too?
Yeah, so they got into the MMA.
seeing it more and more.
Yeah, they want to get into that space. They didn't want to be just in that powerlifting.
Yeah, the lift angry thing.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to be facing Matt Mitrione, Bellator 206, correct?
Correct.
This will be this weekend. 207, excuse me. 207 is when you're going to be taking. I got the wrong number there. How are you feeling about it, man? It's been a bit of a layoff. Would you call it a layoff between your last fight?
No,
not really.
I was the last fight in the first round, so
Yeah.
I fought most recently, So I just been training the whole time, knowing it's a tournament style format. I've just been keeping on it, going from May. I went right into June, started training July, August, and here we are.
Yeah.
I feel great, feel the best I've ever been. I don't think there's a point in my career where I knew who and basically when I was fighting beforehand. It's usually like, all right, you fight, do whatever you want for a little while, and then you get a name and a date.
Right.
So I knew that beforehand, so
Okay.
it's easier.
You're in a weird position, right? Because let's think about it for a second. You just had Rory McDonald, a supreme talent. He jumped up a weight class. It did not go very well for him. But the truth is, I look at this tournament and I'm like, I think Ryan's the prohibitive favorite. How difficult is it to navigate weight and to know when is it a task you can handle and when is too much? When are you biting off more than you can chew?
In this tournament, Matt's one of the bigger guys, right? But at the end of the day, he's going to be 10, 15 pounds heavier than me. If he comes in at low 240s like he was talking about on social media. And so for me, I got up to 238, 239 this camp. I'm sitting right around 230, 235.
Damn.
So for me, I think it's, between light heavyweights and heavyweights, a lot of us can be considered a heavyweight regardless. I'll cut down from 230 to 205. So for me, it's not really a big jump. I have certain attributes that I feel I bring to this heavyweight tournament that some of the heavyweights don't have. That cardio, the quickness. And one thing that Matt's used to having over other people is that speed and that athletic ability, which I have also. Plus, I have the cardio. I have some of the best cardio in the light heavyweight divisions, let alone the heavyweight division.
No, it really is true. What did you make of that fight, by the way? I thought Mousasi would win. I was just like, let's say they're equally skilled. One guy's bigger. It's just going to be for him. I didn't know how it was going to go. I did not expect that. That was all one-way traffic.
Yeah, Rory said he just wasn't in it, and that happens some fights. You go in and
It happened to you before?
Yeah, it happened to me. Just game planning and you train so long to do a certain thing, and then everything goes out the window. For me, it was like Anthony Johnson fight. I went in there and shot a terrible shot, right away. It's one of those things where you don't show up, and then, Mousasi's fought like heavyweight, middleweight, he's a big boy still,
place,
yeah. So I was surprised how it went, but at the same time, some people have off days also, a combination of both, but they're both studs, and a cool fight to see.
It really was. In terms of that, like, is there any way to calibrate that for you or any other athlete on fight day? I mean, it sounds like sometimes you just show up and you're like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing here. There's no way to head that off.
It's routine. It's having the same routine every time, knowing, all right, for me it's like, all right, I have a certain. It's kind of dumb stuff, but I have to have my sweet potatoes that I take and I eat at a certain time because I know I'm going to be hungry and my stomach's going to feel weird right before a fight. So it's just trial and error. And I've had 30 plus fights where I've got to figure out what works the best for me. But at the end of the day, I know usually 98% of the time, when the bell rings, we touch gloves when we start fighting, that I show up. And so I fall back on that every time. But some days you don't feel the best. You get up and you're kind of sluggish. You're trying to get that going. And it's just kind of pushing through it.
How do you feel with Bellator? I mean, your fight with King Mo went about as well as possible. Here you are in this heavyweight tournament. They're taking you all to do all the rounds, all the shows. You're getting to wear your own sponsors.
Yep.
Sounds like you don't have any regrets, huh?
No, I'm loving it. I'm having fun. I came over to, still fight the best guys in the world. I came over, beat Phil Davis, who's arguably top 3 across, any of the promotions.
In New York City,
yeah, in Madison Square Garden, huge card. And then for me, it's just being able to do things like this. So I get asked, hey, you want to jump in this heavyweight tournament for the heavyweight belt, and you get to keep your light heavyweight belt, and we'll see what happens after that. I was like, hell yeah, let's do that. So that's what I love about, being over here. It's I can do things like this. I'm fighting Matt Mitrione, here coming up on Friday, and we're in a Grand Prix, and we got Fedor and Sonnen on the other side. It's huge. I get to go try to be a 2-division champion.
What did you make of that brawl on Saturday?
That was crazy.
That was wild, right?
Yeah.
Dude, these Dagestanis, they don't play around, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was great for the sport, but I don't think it was necessarily the end of the world either. You got a potential rematch in the making, which is even bigger than that fight. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff done for the lead up to that fight with Conor and the bus incident, and then that's part of the whole show and the promos and all that. They add that into the storyline, and then when Khabib jumps over and there's a fight and brawl between the teams, that why wasn't that expected?
Have you ever been involved in, even on the regional scene, anything like even close to that?
No, not close to that. There's times when you're cornering people and there's like words or something like that, but there never has it gone into a full-on brawl. I've been, a couple buddies have been at a fight where they fought, in a rough crowd and, at one of those small regional bar shows, and melee, started happening and guns got pulled out and stuff.
Oh,
but,
Jesus, really?
That's where I can go, at one of those shows. So try to stay away from that.
Tournament, you don't have to worry about any of this trash talk, right? I mean, on some level, it's like, look, it's just bracketed. You all already know what's going to happen. It's already set up.
Yep.
The future's already, you have to make your own future, but in terms of the path, it's kind of all does it for you.
Yeah, you don't have to vie for a fight. You don't have to sit there and get on the mic and say, hey, I want to fight Fedor, I want to fight Chael, or this and that. It's a bracket. It's what I'm used to. I grew up in a bracket sport, in wrestling.
Yeah.
You win,
right.
That does the talking, you move on.
Right.
And so that's what I like about about this whole tournament for the heavyweight championship, because if there wasn't, it's nowadays it's who gets the title shot. Who's going to bring the most eyeballs? Who's going to talk the most shit? Who's going to do that?
Are you glad you're not part of that?
Yeah, I just want to represent, the MMA community, professionally, and have some integrity in it. And I get, stuff's going to happen, and I get the shit talking, and I enjoy it. I like listening to it.
You've done some of it.
I've done some of it. Yeah, I'm not saying I don't.
Right.
But a lot of it, it's just shit talking just to do it, because that's the MO, And even though there's respect, it's like, all right, what are we going to stir up, But at the same time, it's fun and it sells fights. But at the end of the day, we want the sport to be a mainstream professional. There's still people out there that look at the sport and see what happened on Saturday night and say, see, I told you, these guys are,
My thing is, it's like, you didn't get enough of your lust for violence with fist fighting. Like
four rounds, right?
Yeah, it's like that didn't quench your appetite.
Yeah.
I don't know really what would at some point. A couple more things about this, if I may. The Cormier fight. I know you and him had words back in the day.
Yeah.
Any, not regret exactly, but any part of you still wishes that was a possibility?
Oh yeah, for sure. He's a competitor. He's a great champion, a great competitor. He always has been his whole life. And for me, he's the same way. I'm the same way. I want to test myself against the best. And he's a double champ right now, heavyweight and light heavyweight over in the UFC. And yeah, I wish I would have got that fight. I was trying for that fight, for a long time. And
were you surprised he beat Stipe?
I trained with Stipe a little bit, a couple of days before that fight, and it was a little bit of a surprise, but at the same time, both those guys are studs. They're champions in their own right, and so for it to go either way, I thought Stipe might have had a little size on him, but then when he came in heavier than him and whatnot, and he has that wrestling he can go to at any point, and so that's how he set it up. He was setting it up with pummeling, how that underhook came over, boom. So I wasn't too surprised if any of them won.
Where do you think you would be if you had stayed in UFC? Like right here, you're in Bellator, as I mentioned, you beat Mo Lawal. What was that, 15 seconds, something like that?
Yeah.
Something crazy quick, and you beat Phil Davis. It was a tough fight, but you got it done. You won the belt. If you were, because for example, there's this talk about Mousasi. It's like, he's in Bellator, but that might be the best middleweight in the world.
Yeah.
Where do you think you rank all time? Not all time, but among active competitors.
Sitting there right now,
yeah.
I think I'd be, it depends what Gustafsson was doing, where they'd want to put him, but I think I'd be one of the number one contenders,
For sure.
I beat the guy that's ranked number 3, and OSP's in there, and a couple other guys, but it's like, yeah, I was always right there, but I think I'd be, right under Cormier, Gustafsson being out, haven't fought so long. They always like to put him above me because of the bigger fights that he had, but I'd be right there.
Let's think about this. John Jones is probably going to come back at some point. You fought him back in the day. Do you think there'll be a drop-off or no?
With John, I don't know. He came out and looked great. His last fight was Cormier,
did.
Yeah. Getting older doesn't necessarily mean you're dropping off either. I feel the best I've ever felt. I'm 35 years old.
Wow.
Mentally and physically. The time off, though, I assume he's training, but you never know. So a third fight with Cormier and John Jones. Cormier was looking good in that fight until John set him up with that kick.
Yep.
So it's one of those things. I don't think he's going to fall off too much. And then I feel the 205-pound division is pretty weak over there. And so you're going to have, when Cormier retires, you're going to have John Jones, Gustafsson, and then there's a few others in there that are super tough, but it's a very shallow division.
Let's talk about your fight. You got Matt Mitrione coming up. He is a big guy, man. I talked to him a couple times. Not a small person. So neither are you, of course. That's the interesting part about it. When you size him up, quite literally, what do you envision as, these are my responsibilities, these are my tasks to win? What are those?
For me, if you're, I think any MMA fan, especially looking at his last fight or whatnot, if you look at his record, he's never fought a wrestler. I mean, you can call Roy Nelson a wrestler, but he's never fought a dynamic, explosive wrestler. Not only that, I have power in both my hands. I can knock you out. I can take you down. I can grind you out. I can finish you on the ground, and I kind of look at it as a Linton Vassell fight a couple fights ago when I defended the belt against him. He's a big boy. He's 250 now.
He is a big guy.
He's a big boy. And controlling him, and I feel he has better jiu-jitsu than Matt. Ended up getting my position and finishing him on the ground. But that being said, Matt is very, very talented. He's a great fighter. I think his biggest attribute is his mind. He thinks he's going to win. He goes out there and believes in himself. He's very quick on his feet. He moves around well. He's got a good right hand. I think he's not really a natural southpaw, but it's one of those things where you got to be ready. He has a lot of first-round finishes.
Right.
But for me, I'm willing to go to that place not a lot of people like to go. That's what I was saying. I have some of the best conditioning at the light heavyweight division, let alone the heavyweight. I'm willing to go there. I'm willing to, if need be, grind it out on the feet, on the mat, wherever on the ground. So for me, it's just putting those things together.
Who wins, Fedor or Chael?
I usually pick a fighter when I get asked that, but I have no idea on this fight.
It's a tough call.
It's a tough call, yeah. Chael's a wrestler, and I always kind of lean towards wrestlers, but Fedor is, he's one of those unknowns where he can come in and just knock your block off right away.
I thought Frank was going to win.
I thought the size and everything.
And nope,
Yeah, it's just. And what Fedor has too is you get in there and you're across the cage from him. You're like, I'm fighting Fedor right now, And I think Chael might have a little bit. So I think it's just one of those fights where, for me, it's 50-50. Whoever implements their game plan. If Chael can go out and get 3 takedowns, 1 around, I think he wins. If Fedor stuffs 2 of his shots right at the beginning, I think it's Fedor's fight.
What about Fedor's guard? He's got dynamic hips for a big guy underneath.
Absolutely. I just don't know if we've seen it
in a while.
Recently, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest factor. Can Chael take him down and hold him down, basically? That's how he's going to win. Or if he gets taken down, Fedor pops back up and keeps doing that, it's Fedor's fight all night.
Did you think Khabib was going to beat Conor like that?
I did, yeah.
His wrestling is just, it's another level.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was just, if him going in there and thinking he can strike, with Conor, and he dropped him though, but then getting confidence from that, and then staying in the pocket like he kind of was. You got to be careful with Conor, but man, he fought a perfect fight and kind of just kind of drug him down, emptied that gas tank a little bit, less pop on Conor's punches. Almost knocked him out, and then ended up finishing the fight.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Before you go, are you still doing work with veterans? I know you have for a long time.
Yeah, we usually do something, all the time, and I think this time we'll take these some veterans out for a little pheasant hunt and show them a good time. I just like to get involved in that. I've been to a ton of different events where I've heard the stories, I've met the people, and it's the least I can do in my position, you know. So I try to give back whenever I can.
Is there any particular, if folks want more information about how to get involved in the lives of veterans and help them, what do you think is a good way that they could do that?
Man, I always liked Brian Stan's Hire Heroes. I was with them for one fight, and I walked out with a shirt, and it was a cool experience as Brian got a call from a veteran that hadn't had a job in 2 years. Saw it on my shirt, called, signed up, got a job in the next like 3 weeks from there, and has been working at the job ever since. So hearing that, you know, that's what it's all about, you know. So Hire Heroes is always a good one to go to.
All right, man. Well, you know what? It's great to see you. I look forward to the fight. You know, you're an OG in the game now.
I know, crazy, right?
Isn't that wild?
I feel like I'm a young guy in the sport because my body feels great, my mind feels great.
You're looking in good shape.
Thank you. But it's been, I mean, I'm 20 fights in UFC, you know, 3 over here. I'm 30 fights plus. Definitely a veteran.
You are definitely a veteran, but you're a very capable one.
Yeah, there you go. Appreciate it.
It's going to be at the Mohegan Sun.
Yep.
You and Matt Mitrione will be the main event for the semifinals of the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix. That'll be on Friday. You can catch that on Paramount. And I think it's on DAZN as well, but I'll double check. But for sure it'll be on Paramount. Thank you so much, Ryan Bader. Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Best of luck to you on Saturday.
Thank you.
Friday, excuse me.